I want to welcome you to the Charly Crawford podcast. Let's ride.
What's up, Schmitty? Glad
How's it going,
you're
Chuck?
on, man.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
You bet. How's it going out there?
Oh, it's good. No complaints at all. I always feel like it can be better, but it's damn sure been worse before too.
Now, where are you guys at right now?
I don't really know exactly. Top 15. I'm inside of it right now. I've got see what happens today at Lakeview, but before Lakeview, I got like 107,001. In a good spot. Need to win quite a bit more, but at least we have a chance.
Now, where are you guys hanging? What time of year up there in the Northwest? Where are you guys hanging out at? Where are you guys hanging out?
Yeah, I stay at Brady Miner's house. Powder and Ashley, they look after us. They let us hang out in the house, do laundry. Kids get along good. It's kind of like home.
Yeah. Between the minors and the reps, it's amazing how hospitable Ellensburg is for the ropers out there this time of year.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing place. It turns into home, and yeah, some guys are even buying places up here. It's such a nice place to be.
Man, how about the minors? How about what they have done to get back in contention again this year?
Yeah, they're just a team that is so resilient. I mean, they keep giving themselves chances. They know rodeo so well. They enter so well. They know where to capitalize, and they're veterans.
What do you think is the contributing factor this year where they've gotten back in contention, and talk a little bit about how they enter and how they win and how they know how to strategize their year?
Yeah, I
And
don't
their
know if
horses.
anything. Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I don't know if anything's changed for years in or that it's worked or hasn't. I think that's why they're so successful is they've always stuck to a plan, and they don't fade away from it. And I feel like it's just sometimes when it wasn't working, it just wasn't their year. And then every time that the stars have aligned, they've been great.
Yeah, it looks like Bob's back.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest deal. That's probably what it is.
Isn't it wild, the head horses, what they can do to a team and a run?
Yeah, it's amazing, but it's terrifying how
Yeah, yeah.
crucial one is and how much it can affect everything.
How vulnerable you can be in the run on what a head horse can determine what your year looks like.
Yeah, that's it. Honestly, I think that is everything. I mean, there's so
How old
many.
is Bob now?
I'm not sure. I mean, he's probably older than some of the headers that are going to make the finals.
I thought I heard 23. I'm not for sure, but yeah, I should have texted Rawls before we started. But
Yeah, I'm
yeah, I
pretty
seen
sure
where
he
he
is
was
20. I'm
back.
pretty sure he is 23.
They just wiped one out in the second round at Ellensburg.
Yeah,
That
that
was
had to
good
be.
for their standings, being from Ellensburg in the hometown, and Bob just getting the roar of the crowd at 23 has got to still feel pretty special for him too.
Oh, I'm sure that probably felt just as cool as winning it. Second best thing, winning the go around on Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday. That's
Yeah.
right. What about the West Star Open? I'd seen where Driggs and Thorpe got him there.
Yeah, it's just them guys are unbelievable. When reps kind of give the roping up, the minors have taken it over, and they've done a great job of trying to keep the tradition alive and even growing it. And man, it's got to be a top 5 roping of the year. Honestly, 10 monies, so many chances to keep your money together, such a cool setting. I mean, it's a really, really great roping, and it's put on by ropers, and it is made and set up for ropers to be successful.
What's it like
I
now getting the feel of being able to compete at that rope and now actually in the Ellensburg Arena?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of just like everything. It's different. You always grew up talking or learning and watching the West Star. I was fortunate enough to win at one time at reps, and then now it's in a new place. There's so many good things, and you also look back at the old things too. It's kind of why rodeo is so cool is the history of the sport, but in 10 years, everybody's just going to know it as the roping that it is now in the arena in Ellensburg, and it's just going to keep growing and have its own history.
To me, I think that puts such a cool feel to it because, you guys have a pro-am also, and, for the AMs to be able to come also compete with the guys going to the NFR, but then to be able to compete in that arena, like I'm surprised more events don't almost emulate that because of how prestigious it makes those events. You know, like I think of like the gold card at Salinas. How cool is that where guys can enter and rope in that same arena where they're almost doing the same thing in Ellensburg that makes the prestige of it, I think, pretty special.
Well, yeah, 100%. And that's the best thing about our sport is the longevity of somebody's career, even past the professional life of it. It's just the opportunity to be a team roper. And then when you're past the professional side of it, if you're a weekend warrior, to get to take part in that scenario, that setup, and then rope alongside somebody like Thorpe or Driggers, the best in the world is just the extra cool part of the pro-ams.
I thought it was pretty special this year too, where you've seen Justin McKee, who's announced that rodeo for years, announced the West Star for years, and then seeing him get the win in the pro am the other day.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The first time I ever roped in the pro-am up here is with Justin, and he, yeah, he's been pretty special to that rope, and it's pretty cool.
And then I thought too, that T Graves, OTG Travis Graves' boy, didn't he win it with Tanner Tomlinson?
Yes, he did. That's just the sport, I mean,
Mhm.
it's so
That's gonna be
cool.
something you're gonna remember for, both of them, honestly. I think for Tanner Tomlinson being able to rope with his dad and then win something with his son, those are things he'll remember. But that kid, if that doesn't hook a kid into the whole team rope and like, this is what I'm gonna do the rest of my life, I don't know what would.
Yeah, I bet you Tanner is just as nervous in the short round as if he was in the short round today, if not more, because he'd
And it's
remember that
hard for
forever.
I have heard that guy don't get nervous, but I'll bet if any one of them was gonna test him, it would have been that one. That run, I
Yeah,
would
I'd
think would
call
have to get the blood pressure up.
I'd call BS if he said he isn't nervous.
Hey, one of my most special wins that I ever won, the one that I remember to this day was my dad got diagnosed with cancer in 2009, and Dean Tufton started putting on a big roping during Sisters. I
Yep.
think right around the 2010, 11, 12 area around there, if I remember right. And anyway, in 2012, he had a pro-am, and my dad entered it, and I got to compete with my dad. And that's the last time we competed together, and we won it.
Oh,
And
cool.
and it was a cool Bob Scott saddle. Like, it was such a cool saddle. And so when he passed, like, that was one of my most memorable wins, was to be able to have that win where the last rope, and I got dinner with my dad, we won it and stuff. So a lot of those
Right.
pro-ams, man, some of those can be so special. And I think that was one that was kind of near and dear to me watching that happen. That was a pretty special win.
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot more emotional involvement in something like that, and I think it's pretty special, especially when it goes good like that.
Now, I thought Caldwell, we rewind back to Caldwell. I talked to you a little bit after that run. That looks like such a tight run. You and Hawk look so in sync. From the time you hit the start, got to position, roping on tight, steer hit, first hop, tight face. Like, it just looked textbook. Like, you and his runs look like, it looks good. Like, when you see it, the chemistry looks just right where you're teeing him up. He's ready and has some separation in the first hop where the run looks really, really good. How is your guys' fourth quarter? As we're going in that fourth quarter, how's it been going?
Yeah, it's going pretty good. I really like our run a lot. It's easy to duplicate it over and over again, which I feel is super crucial. Um, I do like the fact that we never really have to feel like we close our eyes and throw it to the wind and hope it works. I feel like we have a lot of control in our run, and it's been good. There's been weeks that have been better than others, but I really do appreciate the fact that even when it wasn't just 100% or wonderful, we haven't strayed away from what we're comfortable with. We're confident enough in our run that we just keep trying to do it, knowing that when it does go our way, it's good enough. I just know from past that when it hasn't gone good and you don't have a run to fall back onto, that's when it feels like it's hard, like you don't really know what you're aiming towards. So I'm happy about our run. I'm really excited to open with Hawk, and it's been good. I'm excited for the future.
When did you and Chase try and start roping? How long ago did you guys start? And
The
was it?
first rodeo we went to was Preston, so the week of Heber City and stuff like that.
So about the first week in August.
Yes, I think it was. I think that's right. Like right at the last day in July, and then the 1st of August is when we started.
Yeah, I seen where you guys placed at Filer, looks like you won second the first round at Ellensburg. Great run at Caldwell. Looks like you guys are making a lot of good runs. Like, if I was to put the fourth quarter into football terms, in my opinion, watching you guys rope, it looks like you guys are well diversed enough to where you're able to run the ball, control the clock, get your first downs, making sure that like you just keep on making runs, where you're not just nothing's been a home run hit quite yet, which is those to me, I think when you start getting momentum that way, then it's almost easier when those big home runs are presented to yourself. It seems like you're going to have confidence in those situations because, going into we're getting close to the 2-minute drill, there's going to be some big money coming. And man, to have momentum going into that, I've always seen where those are the guys that, man, when those situations show up, where you've got a banger, like you've got the loper, you've got the retard, or you've got the doozy coming, Puyallup or the short round at Pendleton, it seems like you've got momentum going into it where you're able to capitalize.
Right, exactly, and that's kind of what I was saying is I trust our run. There's enough confidence in there. There's no way we could have a conversation about me being in a good enough safe position. So the wins have to keep coming. They're super crucial. But I'm really blessed right now to have the feeling where I don't have to go searching for it. Just gonna keep trusting our run and knowing that when we draw the right one, that we are gonna do our job. I know there's gonna be hurdles that we have to get over and stuff we have to go through, but I trust our run. I trust what we have going on, and yeah, I feel like I'm in a really good position outside of my world standings position. I have a partner I wanted to rope with, and I get the chance to rope with him now. I have a pretty good set of horses, which I know that's never ending. It's never enough. You always need more, but I'm blessed with what I have right now, and yeah, I just not searching, not overdoing, just trusting what we've done and the work we've put in, and can't complain.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to share something with you that I'm very proud of. As a clinician, my goal has always been to give you the tools to get better, and that's exactly what I had in mind when I built my online course, The Basics of Roping. I've got over 2 hours of instruction, everything from a frame-to-frame breakdown of the swing to dummy drills that'll get you ready for just about anything in the arena, plus tips on rope selection and care. Think of it like a clinic you can carry with you. You can pull it up anytime, anywhere, right from your phone or computer. Just head on over to charlycrawford.training, click on the course tab, and get signed up. Let's keep leveling up wherever you are.
When you made the NFR in 2016, then it was a little bit of 4 years in between from then, and you made it again in 2020. Now you're in a really good spot to make the finals here in 2025. What do you think it is this year that's got you back in contention? What do you think that the changes have been that contributed to where it looks like you're in such a good spot to get back there again?
Man, there's so much stuff. Family. We're our youngest boy is a year old. The raising the family, doing all that stuff is a toll. It changes perspective on everything. My mindset is so much better. My partner right now is really, really good. But the main gist of things is I've got a horse again that is a finished product that fits me, that gives me a lot of opportunities. He's honestly opened my eyes a lot on head horses and what I've been needing. I've always thought I've needed more horses to be more successful. And when I say more horses, I don't mean quantity, I meant quality. I always thought I needed more and more high power, but I haven't got to ride a horse like this in a long time that is the same every time. There's a lot that I would change about this horse, to be honest with you, but he does the same thing every time, and that I missed that, and that opportunity of knowing how he's going to score and what he's going to do. So all you got to do is worry about where you're placing your head rope is just it's I don't know, it just feels a lot more like I get to be a header than anything else.
Talk about the head horse, because I think that that's where I've seen so many when we talk about Riley, being back and Bob's back. And, you talk about a lot of like I've seen certain guys, man, when they had a head horse, they dominated. That head horse gone, don't see their name anymore. So talk
Oh,
about
that's
what you feel like the head horse and what is it that you feel like fits your style?
Right. Well, that what you just explained was my or has been my career. My childhood horse happened to be one of the best horses in the world.
Is that Badger?
Yes, I got to ride him in high school rodeo. I got to ride him in college rodeo, and then I had an opportunity to head for a really good healer. And I had some other horses that fell into place with him, and it was just a perfect successful storm. But too young and dumb and proud really to slow down and look at it. I thought I just made the first finals. Like, this is easy. Like, why isn't everybody doing this? Like, and then you lose a partner because you don't perform well, and then you lose a couple horses that go with the black, and then the black gets sore, and then you work your tail off to re-save the black's career, and then you get another good partner, and it's all based off of the horse. I've always been a guy that's been aggressive, too aggressive at times, but I've always been able to or had to be able to push to the steer. I've always wanted to chase the horns. And I rode a few horses in the last 4 or 5 years that have been too elevated or a little bit in my way. This gray horse, man, he's not blessed with speed. He's not blessed with foot speed. But every time that I drop my hand, I get to leave my bridle reins loose and I get to attack the horns. In some sort of way. It's a lot slower and more controlled than it used to be, but I'm at least down riding towards where I need to throw my rope. And I think that's the most important thing for me is just having a horse underneath of me that's carrying me to a spot that allows me to throw my rope. I feel like I'm talented with the rope and there is a lot of natural talent, but I'm also not on the freak side of things where I can just do it without horses or overcome a situation with my rope. I do feel like if I set myself up into a good place to use my rope, I am good at it. But I do need the assistance from a head horse to allow me to do that.
Now, where did this head horse come from and the ones you
This
have in your
horse,
trailer?
I bought him from a good friend of mine, Clint Wallace. He was rodeoing on him, circuit rodeo him in Arkansas. He's had him for a couple years and rode him around. And he got last fall, we got home and he told me he was going to maybe think about selling him. And I rode him right in between Christmas and New Year's. And I rode the horse, and it's exactly what I just said. It's like I don't love this horse at all, but he does the same thing every time. And I haven't had that in a while. And I've had this bay mare that I bought from ANC, Ran and Caden and them, and she's amazing. Like she feels incredible, but she's just 7. Like she's inconsistent. So I was roping with Landon Glenn at the time this winter. I really liked the way Landon heels, and I was like, I need to do something to make sure I give myself a real chance because I think he's the next one of the next ones coming up. I mean, the definition of not definition, but how you've always done it. Find the next best thing and bring him along and make the finals with him. That was kind of I thought of you when I roped with Landon. You know what I mean? Like this is the best way to get the best healer that I'm capable of getting right now. So when I had the horse that was going to help my situation or my program, we didn't have the money. It was like I spoke for the horse. I said I needed a week, did whatever I had to do to find the funds. And then typical deal when the head horse is right, earns his money, he pays himself off before you even really know what's going on. But yeah, he's been a blessing to us, that's for sure.
I think there's a couple different ways I feel like, and I'd love to hear your perspective of this is, when you find a good horse, I think it's also important too that to know the moving parts of the run so that when a guy like say a younger kid or a lower numbered guy, that when he gets that good horse to be able to ride that horse, how he knows how to work that sets up your run. And then I think too is if your horse doesn't knowing like how to make sure you're give the clear signals to be able to when you want to go, this is when to go, to hold your lane, how to
Right.
help learn how to rate off position so it makes it easy. And then when you get on one that just does it, you can't it's very hard to explain, but they know their job so well that like what you said earlier, I think just hits what a good horse is when you can rope. When you can
Right.
literally
Exactly.
he's gonna when you see the start, he goes off your hand. When you're working on your swing because he's bringing the horns to you. When you rope, he stands up in the corner and knows how to make them hit. and just knows the feel of when that heeler ropes to be able to whoop it right around there. And when I feel like when that happens, it's amazing what your confidence does. That the horse knows
100%.
his job, that you can go rope.
Yeah, and you see it with calf ropers or guys that are heading, kind of looking. You're like, man, that guy don't look like he's in a great spot. And then you find, or those guys or me or somebody finds a horse that fits him, and it's like, wow, that guy actually is good at it. Like that's all it is a horse that's on your team that allows you to do what you do best without having to worry about anything that they have going on.
One of the best quotes I ever heard was Popeye Boltinghouse in the 90s. I think he was on one of Rich Skelton's videos that he had. And I watched all that stuff, until I made my first NFR. I watched all of them. I think it was Chasing Gold or something like that with Rich and T, I think. Anyway, Popeye was on there, and he said that it's not how much you can win on a horse, but how much a horse keeps you from winning. And I remember looking at the herd that I had tied to my trailer, and I was like, that's exactly what I've been saying. I'm like, how come? I remember the guys who were roping good, like, how come you don't sell that horse? I'm like, well, I win on it. And then when he
Right.
said, well, how much sometimes you win on one, but how much one keeps you from winning? And I looked down and I was like, yeah, they keep me from winning all the time.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I didn't sell them then. I didn't sell them all. Or no, actually, that was when I sold all of them. And then I did. And then I started over, and I was trying, like, how do I find something to where, because then I remembered the year before that, I remember my horses got hurt, and I got on Richard Eger and Pook's horse, that yellow. Remember
Yep.
Calhoun that he had? And the year before that, I remember getting on him, and because all my horses got hurt, and Pook's like, get on mine. I'm like, dude, you're winning the world. Like, no, I'm not going to cripple your horse. And he's like, no, get on him. And he made me get on him. And I remembered I hit the start, and I've never seen a set of horns coming at me that hard ever. But when I
Right.
roped, just felt him melt off, where you could put your strands wherever you wanted them. And when you went to the horn, it was already tight, and that steer was already turning. And I forget who I was roping with. He got a leg, and this horse just came around. And I looked up, and I would have won the first round by a couple seconds. Or no, I mean, a few tenths, excuse me. And that was the first time I would have ever won a first round in my career at that point. This is before I was
Right.
making the car. And I was like, damn, I can rope good enough. It's not my
Yeah.
roping. Like,
Right.
I'm not mounted like these guys. Like, this is a guy that's winning the world, and he let me on. And then I heard that quote, it's not how much you can win on one, but how much one keeps you from winning. I'm like, that one give me an idea of what I felt like I needed again. I needed game.
Right.
The way my style was, them horns have to come to me. I wasn't good enough with being able to, I developed it later where I could use my rope, and the steer and the horse would just keep the distance to where I could use my rope and it was tight. But that felt better in the winter. But in the summer run, when you got outside, man, it felt like just them. When them horns come to you, it felt like those horses were so valuable in the summer.
100%. That's when you talk to Randon Richard about heading, and I feel the same way. But that's the first thing that our conversations always go to is, do the horns feel like they're coming back to you, or are you chasing them with your upper body and your rope? That's the biggest thing. And nowadays, it necessarily, there's a difference between speed and quickness, and I think right now where team roping is, quickness is the most important thing. The gray horse I have is not a superstar in speed, but when time you score and you drop your hand, he's quick and he's confident in the lane that he catches. So we get to a roping position quick, like there's no wasted motion. And I feel like that's so crucial.
Man, I loved how you explained that. That's one of the things I try to explain so much at the clinics. And I remember Trevor talking about it one time. He talked about a horse that may not have as much speed, but don't waste no movement getting to it is almost
Yes.
better than a horse that's faster that doesn't, there's a squiggly line to get to him because it affects
Well,
your
yeah.
swing.
Well, yeah. Then you have to ride the squiggly line. You find your position, and then you head the horns. When
No,
they
that'll
catch a
take
lane,
time, huh?
yeah, when they catch a lane and they're running underneath of you, carrying you to your throw, all you're looking at is that spot where it feels like you're chasing, chasing, chasing. And it's like boom, horns. You know what I mean? That it's such a different aspect of it.
Yeah. When I rode his one time too, I remember, just him and Chad Masters I could always get on anything they had because they knew their job. They would run under you, and the horns were always almost in the same place. And it's amazing just the simplicity of it. But then when those horses would do that, just how much easier it was the roping side of it. There is a
Well,
lot to roping, man. If you don't catch, you don't win. If you
right.
miss at Ellensburg, you ain't gonna win nothing. So I get
Well,
that the importance of the horns. That the rope has got to go around the horns, but it's amazing how much a horse can make it easier to do that, huh?
100%. And then it's easier for our healers too when the horse is running the squiggly line pattern. They're trying to time when to close their gap. When our horses are in a confident lane, it's almost like that string that's from the left hip to the right shoulder of the horse is just constantly pulling them. Like they just get to have their hand down, chasing the feet, the same thing we're feeling, rather than guessing what the hell I've got going on the other
Right.
side.
That's what I've always wanted to see my healers, like, when they would come in the corner, I always wanted their shoulders going forward, because I knew that
Yes.
when they were hunting the position, they knew where the steer was going. The last thing I
Yep.
ever wanted to see my healer do was to pull back, because if I
Right.
ever seen that, then that was their reaction of, like, "I'm not sure where the steer's going." So those are
100%.
something
And
too,
if
just
you
the
watch,
rhythm, especially like the run you guys had at Caldwell, where, like, the rhythm looked to it like, "Gosh dang, this team looks solid."
right. Well, that's good because I feel like I've worked hard on that. Talking about 2016 roping with Shea, that guy deserved a gold buckle that year. Like I was attacking the horns, and then I'd wish him luck. That guy, he earned everything that guy got that year because his job was easy. But the first time I ever really felt it was when I got to rope with Hunter Cook in 2020. That it felt like when I headed the cow, he was over top of the steer's tailbone with his swing, telling me where to put the cow, like almost showing me this is where I want him. Just set him there, and I'm gonna catch him. And, I
Yeah.
felt that with Landon. Landon was really good about riding through the turn and being up there. And I love that about roping with Hawk too. When he's in that spot down the arena, it's easy. Like the handle almost, you do it for them because they're showing you where to put them. But when they're away and they're almost trying to protect themselves, that's when I don't even know, like, what do you want from me, rather than it feels like we're on separate teams. Them guys always say, "Oh, he's in a dangerous spot." Well, he is, but now it's my job to let him be safe. And it's easier for me, I think, when they're in that position through the turn.
Well, and that was my style as well. I think a lot of times the guys that hang back were the guys that was easiest, where the guys could throw it coming out of the box and pull them to them where they could catch up. Where I
Right.
probably used more of my arena and used my horse, that's where it seemed like it was easier for a guy to be up and around them, because then when I would rope, I could feel where they were at. And I loved how you explained that, where their swing is almost aiming right where that's where you want to put the steer's feet. Like,
Yes,
that's
it's
a
it's
good visual and a good analogy. Like, for me, those are things I could see as well, to where it's like, "Oh, that's where he wants them."
right. Well, I just feel like I've healed enough too. When I'm away and chasing the feet, it feels like the header has no idea what he's gonna do for me. But it don't matter if I'm roping with lower number or higher number guys when I'm healing. If I'm in a good spot through the turn, they usually handle the cow pretty damn good. So it kind of try to relay that to our job on the heading side is he's wanting me to put him somewhere. He's showing me. I'm just gonna try and do my best to put him in that spot.
Well, it looks like Hawk's very comfortable there, and it looks like, say, the run looks awesome. I'm excited to see, because I know, man, this time of year, there's a lot of pressure. For
Yeah, there
me,
it is.
I
Yeah,
struggled sleeping. Man, I'm not gonna lie. There were certain years, man, where I was edgy. The sleep
yeah.
wasn't there. You're looking at the standings. You're hoping everything, goes your way. For you, what's it like being in this situation? Because I remember one year I thought I had it made. I think it was 2013. I think me and Mozi, I think we split second and third at Piala. We were seventh in the world going into Pendleton. And I'm like, did it. I
Done.
did, like, that was it. That was all I needed. Pendleton's over with, and I'm already 12th. And
Oh
I'm like,
yeah,
damn. Like, that
yeah,
was fast. Everyone that needed to win just went bam, bam, bam. Now all of a sudden,
yeah,
I'm back where I started. Like, the
yeah,
emotional roller coaster that goes on. What's it like for
yeah.
you in this situation?
Man, it's a lot. I've done a good job of not getting too emotionally invested. I know at the beginning of the year, our main goal was I have a percentage that I wanted to reach, turn steers for money. Our main goal though was just to have the perspective of wanting a chance, giving ourselves the best chance that we can have. So anytime I do feel anxious or I look at the standings and we get worked up or try not to do that, but when we do, Katie and I, we always just talk that we're in a situation we haven't been in a few years. We're beyond blessed just to be in the conversation and to feel like we're doing a good enough job to have the chance. Um, at the end of the day, if I miss or if I turn one to be for first, I go back to the trailer. My oldest boy doesn't know or care. He wants to go to the carnival, wants to ride his pony. Um, man, I don't know. I feel super fortunate just to be here. I'm heading good again. I'm confident enough to say that I've done a good job, and that's enough for me.
That's gotta
And
feel good because, 2020 was a while ago, and I'm not
oh,
saying that
dude,
anything
it's forever
disrespectful. To
ago.
me, I wanna make sure you understand, like, to me, that's respect and the fact of you've been grinding at it, man. You've been working at it. You've been making the changes. And then now, like, where you're at to be able to be in this spot again, it's gotta feel pretty good.
It does, and it's been a process. I was super talented, but I always headed wrong. There was way too much risk in what I was doing. So yeah, it's been a lot of work, and to be real about it, it took a lot of work to get guys to give me chances again. So just yeah, we're happy to be here. I got a healthy family, wife that likes me. Everything's good.
It's a good
We've got
perspective to have, especially when you
we got
say,
the
like, the kid doesn't know whether you missed or not. He just wants to go to the
right.
carnival.
Well, he
'Cause
don't.
there's
Yeah,
so much to that where, like, they can almost help you keep things in perspective, it feels like.
right, yeah, he said, "Did you catch, Dad?" And I said, "Yeah, I caught." "Did you win money?" "Well, I don't know yet." And then he wants to go get cotton candy, he don't
Yeah,
care. So,
yeah, I love it.
um, I know this time of year we're ready to get home. I think that's the most anxious part is I wish we've done good. We've had good weeks. A great week would be wonderful, because then we're that much closer to going home. But at the end of the day, it's all fine. No matter how it goes, I'm gonna enter Denver. So I'm
Yeah.
happy to be
Well,
here.
like you say, a guy wants to be in the contention. A guy's wanting to be
Right.
where you're at. So,
Well, yeah, it's
what
just
so
it feels better
you
waking
said
up knowing you're doing something right rather than just out here guessing what the heck you're doing with your life and your choices and all that.
Hey, friends, if you're looking for something that inspires grit, creativity, and good old fashioned hard work, you've got to check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear. This isn't just another brand, it's a group of homeschooled teenagers who are learning to enterprise, building real skills, and producing high quality gear that stands up to ranch life and beyond right here in Texas. Each piece is hand tooled by these young men and women themselves, and the craftsmanship speaks for itself. Their truck scabbard? It's their top seller. Rugged, practical, and built to last. If you're looking for something unique for your business, they even create custom corporate gifts with your company logo. And here's what I love. Every purchase not only gets you gear you can count on, but it also supports the next generation of entrepreneurs who are learning what it takes to work hard, create value, and build something meaningful with their own two hands. Whether you're a rancher, a business owner, or just someone who loves quality American-made gear, check out Ezra Tech Ranch Gear at EzraTechGear.com. To get a 10% discount, use promo code CHARLY10. That's CHARLY10. EzraTechGear.com, where craftsmanship meets enterprise and the future is being built one tool at a time.
what you said earlier, you do percentages. Do you keep track of your win percentages, your catch percentages? Do you
Yeah,
um
I don't do my wins just because I don't know, that's another deal. I just try to handle mine. Breaking the barrier, bad handles, miss, stuff like that. Where my guy doesn't have a chance to win money is a zero. And if I've done my job to allow myself a chance for money, that's a check mark. So I try to my goal, I feel like you have to be above 75% to be sort of even relevant at making the finals for how I head. I think
so the stats that you created that you feel like as a header, you've got to be 75%.
for me, I feel like if you head like Dustin or Tanner, you could probably be
Now
50 or
is that where you're turning for money, do you feel like, or where you did your
yeah,
job?
turning for money,
Okay.
turning for money. I
What do
just
you feel like what do you feel like is kind of the percentages to be able to make the NFR? Does that make
I
sense?
would
Like, what do you feel like the win percentages are to where you make it?
man, I'd be lying if I told you because I really haven't looked past that. Matt Sherwood was the one that really helped me with that the year that I roped with Bueller and he roped with Hunter. he always talked about having to be above 75, and he always figured his healer in there. But I've never gone to that spot because I feel like if I do my job good enough, even if they have a bad spell, they're going to get the confidence back with good spins that it's all going to work out. Um, I feel like if I headed faster and I wrote for higher percentages dollar wise at the rodeos, it could be different. But I do feel like, a 13 to 8 or 9% of the pot is pretty realistic of where I'm roping at for how the pay scale is. So that's kind of what I've come up with and where I feel like I need to stay, or at least no lesser than.
Well, that's an interesting perspective on how you broke that down, where if you're consistent, you probably need to be in the 75%. And if you're the risk taker like Tanner or Dustin Esquiza and guys like that, they could probably afford to be 50, because when they win, it's probably going to be first. So I see what you're
Right.
saying on consistency. It's a great perspective. But one
But the
thing I've
reason
always
they're
tried to
so
tell,
the reasons
what's that?
they're so great is they're probably still turning 75%, but they're roping for 17 to 23% of the pot.
Mm.
They catch as many as anybody, but they're winning twice the amount of the percentage of the pot when they do catch. So that's why they've got 150, 160,000
One of the things that I try to tell a lot of the young people is learning how to deal with adversity. And so that's what I've always been curious is when some of the guys, because I never kept track of like the amount of times that I won, like the percentage. But like I know in 2020, like I was looking at it and I think going into, and I know that was an odd year because it was during the COVID year, but I think when we were going into the 4th of July or maybe after the 4th of July, I think we'd been to like, might have been like 17 rodeos or something like that. And I think we placed at like 14. And
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
like that was one of those times where it's like, damn, like it was hitting. But I always wondered what the percentage was for a lot of guys at the end of the year on what the placing percentage would be to make the NFR. Because if you're looking at 50% of the time or 60% of the time, you're winning money and that's enough to make the NFR. How does a guy deal with the losing 50% of the time or 40% of the time? Because that's a big part of being able to be mentally tough enough out there is also dealing with the losses because they're going to come. You're almost like a home run hitter. You're not going to hit a home run every single time. There's going to be times where you strike out. So how
Right.
does a guy battle back from those times and stay ready for the next time that you're going to win something?
Yeah, I mean that's the $1 million question. That's the hardest part about rodeo, and I feel like that's why the great guys are great, and the guys that have long careers have such a solid, strong foundation mentally. They don't. There's places we're gonna fall. Like we're all gonna fall somewhere, but the guys that know how to turn around don't fall past a certain spot. They don't fall past the spot where they change their fundamentals or their belief in how a run should be created. There's a spot where you're mad at yourself and you're pissed off at what you performed like, but you grow off of it instantly. I feel like there's been times where I know I can't go below this line, but it's been bad and I end up way below it. You know what I mean? Like it's just that's the hardest part about what we're doing, I think, is showing up the next day, even though you might have fell off in the short round of wherever, but you got to show up the next day and perform like that didn't happen. I mean, that's
I
team
think
roping or
one of the
rodeo.
teams that really reminds me of that, what you're saying too, is watching what Driggs and Junior are doing. I don't know where they started off the summer, but it seemed like they were down a ways, way down more than what I'm used to seeing them. But then just over the summer, watch them just climb the ladder. Where now they're right back where
Oh
you're
man,
used
they're
to.
unbelievable. I can't remember when it was. Um, I can't remember. I think we had like 60, maybe 55, 60,000 one, and he had this like maybe right at the same amount or a touch more than us. And his wife put on social media that she was looking for a place to stay in Las Vegas, recommendations of where to stay. And I was like, that is so badass. Like this guy's got 60,000 one. We're in a not a great spot and he's making plans. Like we got to know where they're going to stay during the finals. And you look up a couple head horse changes, a couple fixes, and I don't know if he's third, fifth, whatever he is in the world. I mean, the dude's going in after Sioux Falls and Puyallup. He's got a great chance for season leader. Like that
Mhm.
guy, they're unbelievable. And their run's so amazing. They're so talented with ropes. T-Wade and Thorpe, they're the same way, man. They'll go weeks where it's not good, and then you look up and they have a $50,000 week, and it's like, God, that's just
those guys' win and loss looks like a heart rate. It just goes. Doop, doop, doop. You just know it's going to be there, and so you just ride the wave. Maybe you just ride the wave.
It's funny, man. They're both amazing teams. It's it's pretty cool.
Talk about like I say, you being in the trenches right now with battling that NFR kind of that bubble feel, and then you're watching other guys around you. You know, I was watching the run that Lightning Aguilera and Wyatt Cox made over there at Bremerton. What? Like, holy crap, that was playmaking, gaming going on, like, holy rank sauce.
Yeah.
Throw at the line. Cheese is nowhere near making the corner. And Big Cheese comes over the top of that horse, gets over back on the right-hand side of his horse's neck and gets dallied. When I watched that, it looked like Larry Fitzgerald in the back of the end zone with one hand grab out of the end zone and somehow scraped 2 feet in bounds before he catches the ball and gets wiped out by 2 linebackers. I was like, damn. Like, that team, when they're going to hit, holy crap. You talk about, like, those guys, when they're going to hit, it's going to be hard to keep up, but that is such a hard style to be able to hit every single time, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
but when it hit, holy crap.
I stay in my lane. You know, I mean, that looks amazing, and it looks so fun, but I ain't got no business trying to do none of that. I don't even try to do that.
To me, that's that mental discipline, because that's where so many guys get out of their game. Not only when it's time for the bubble, but I mean, you can go down a jackpot. You know, you can watch guys that go make some runs, and then some little Thundercat throws some line at them, and then all of a sudden they're trying to keep up with them, and they can get out of their game. You know, I think the same thing will happen where you're at. You watch that, it's like, it's hard sometimes to not want to compete with it, but it takes some mental discipline to be able to, like, nope, this is my run. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, it's mental discipline if you're capable of doing it, but I'm not. So I don't even try to entertain the idea of it. You know, it's like, I'm a fan.
Yeah, that's me. I'm a fan. That was awesome. Yeah. Good job, guys.
I was like, that was ranked. No, I'm going to go. You know, like
100%. 100%.
If I was capable of something like that, I might have to talk myself off the ledge of doing that too often, but I don't even look over that ledge, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. How about the rodeos though, man? I was looking at Tremont, you know, even just over there, Bremerton, $5,100 one headers. I seen Nikki and Northcott and Clay Smith win Filer, I think, and that was $4,500. You guys got a good hit over there. You know, the Tremont, I think, was almost $5,400. Man, a lot of these rodeos are stepping up this time of year. That used to be just good circuit rodeos back in the day. Now there's your good rodeos to go to now. How about the committee stepping up?
Man, it's so cool. You know, you always want to say it could be better. It should be better. And yeah, we have to keep growing the sport and making it better. But I mean, 2016, my first NFR, I went in number 3 or 4 in the world going into the national finals, and I had $93,000 won. You know, we just hit September 1st. I'm going to have 107,000 won, and I'm nowhere close to making the NFR yet. You know what I mean? Like,
what is your guesstimation you feel like this year?
I don't know
what it's going to take.
It's hard to tell because everybody that needs to win right now is rodeoing their butts off and winning. You know,
it always goes that way, doesn't it?
And then Puyallup, you know, that's $3,700 day monies against 12 teams. The final deal pays $13,500. Lewiston starts tomorrow. It pays $5,000 again. They say the Pendleton go rounds are going to be close to 7. So the average is going to be over 10,000. And then it don't matter where you are in the world, Sioux Falls is coming. You know,
what about Mandan?
Well, I heard that they fixed Mandan this year. They put in the rule book it's PRCA pay scale, so it is great. But there's 34 teams in the rodeo, and it's a 15 money rodeo this year. It'll be like 90-some hundred.
Folks, if you're in Texas or Oklahoma and need a top-tier metal building, you need to call the guys at Cowboy Steel Construction. Founded by Trey Norris back in 2000, Cowboy Steel has grown into one of the premier metal building contractors in the region. Need an indoor arena? Or want to cover the one you've already got? These guys know how to get the job done right, strong, reliable, and built to last. Whether it's for ranch, business, or personal use, Cowboy Steel Construction has you covered, literally. Check out their work on social media at Cowboy Steel Construction on their Facebook and Instagram page, or call Trey Norris at 903-348-4611, and you can email them at cowboysteel2k@gmail.com.
You know, the Western industry is growing. I think it's cool that we get to reap the benefits of it. You know, there's a lot of outsiders that are wanting to take part in what we have to offer and the lives that we get to live. So I think the sport of the rodeo is really good, and I think the future of it's going to be really good. I'm excited that we get to be a part of it.
Yeah. You talk about the industry growing, especially team roping, but you getting to go last week up there to Calgary, and they have team roping in August at the Calgary Stampede outside of the rodeo. What do you think that the reason is for having the team roping separate from where they're actually having the rodeo?
Man, I have no idea, honestly. I would love to have an answer for you so that we could have a fix to the problem. You know, I feel like if we knew what was wrong or where the mindset was, we could at least grow from it and have the conversation that's required. And they just, I don't know. It's frustrating, just to grow up and watch Calgary was the coolest thing in Canada. You know, it was easy. It was more accessible to watch the Stampede for us as kids than it was the national finals. So you got to watch that all year, or every year you got to watch that. And then you knew it wasn't team roping wasn't there, but you just kind of figured by the time it was your turn or your time and your career, you could be a part of it, and it's just, doesn't seem like it's going to be an option. I don't know. The Calgary Stampede's not letting us have it. PRCA signed the papers of us not getting the rope there. It's all frustrating to see. I don't know. It doesn't sound like there is a fix to it for where the meeting was held this year before the team roping. As of right now, we're 2 more years of doing what we're doing. The money's gotten better, so that's a blessing. But it's still, we just don't get to showcase our sport in the limelight that it's supposed to be held at.
What are the conversations being had when you guys are talking to, like, say, the top guys from the States and also between the guys up there in Canada as far as team ropers go? What do you feel like the conversation is between the two of you?
Well, I don't really know. I know our director's trying hard. He's doing all that he can do to get us there. We've had a few other directors in our sport step up on the PRCA side to get some more money, at least to make it a little bit more realistic from the Stampede. But it doesn't sound like there is any headway. They just decided to have breakaway, and they put the breakaway in the rodeo, no questions asked. I know Lyle Kurtz, CBS Controls, back in the day, he laid his on the line to try to get team roping there. Like, he had everything handled other than the arena time. All we needed was the time from them, the money, the steers, everything was handled by Lyle Kurtz, and they still would not let us have it. So I don't know.
Who do you feel like they is, and why do you feel like the roadblock is there?
That's a great question. I don't have answers for that. They always, when we grew up, it was always the old board members or committee members that didn't like team roping. The first team roping there ever was at the Canadian finals was 2000. My dad won the Canadian finals in 2000. He was the first one ever to win it at the actual Canadian finals. So we're only 25 years into our team roping career in Canada on a realistic scale. So it's still pretty fresh, but that shouldn't be an excuse because our breakaway is only 3 to 4 years in, and that wasn't an issue. You know what I mean? So there's some type of denial. I don't know where it is or where it lies, but I would love to know so we could sit down and have a conversation about it.
That's been kind of my goal on the podcast, is just raise up the conversations about it. I thought it's been a long time coming. I feel like. I think breakaway just getting thrown in, which is awesome. Like I said, I'm a fan of breakaway for obvious reasons. I think it's great, but I mean, to me, then okay, the time it obviously wasn't about the time then, because if they were able to add the breakaway in, I've
Exactly.
heard
And
money
when
wasn't the issue because I've heard Lyle Kurtz was offering money in a 10-year contract. You have the
right,
steer, so it's like you always wonder what is it. And I've even tried to reach out. I've had some phone calls from guys up there in Canada. They're like, you're kind of punching on us a little bit, and I'm like, man, all I want to do is bring up the conversation because if I can do anything for team roping and team roper, especially up there in Canada, there's no reason, in my opinion, if you want to talk about numbers on what this economic impact of what team roping does to the industry, I can give you plenty of stats on that. And so
right.
I think it's been frustrating watching, guys from as far back as I'm sure Murray Lipscomb and a lot of the guys, you know, that were before me and before you that I was heard so much and how hard they've worked on trying to get that to where it's in the industry. And I just always wonder what it is. Because I like I say, so one of the guys reached out to Jackie and talked about why they had team ropers, which was awesome. And I said, hey, can I get his number? Can you reach out? I'd love to have him on the podcast. Love to talk about why he had breakaway, which I think is awesome. It's great for the industry, great for the sport, great for the fans. But what about team roping? And just ask a simple question. What is it? Is it numbers? Is
Right.
it time? And so I love the fact that I had guys calling though and texting me from Canada. At least there's conversations going. But I was
Yeah.
curious if the conversations were going while you're up there in Calgary during the team roping.
Not really, and the frustrating part is you want to put Canada in the conversation, but it's not Canada, it's Calgary. It's Calgary
Wow.
and the PRCA. The Canadian Rodeo Association has nothing to do with the Calgary Stampede.
Wow.
So everybody that we're accessible to and the people that we actually have relationships with, yes, they get hired on to go work Calgary and they're contracted for the job, but they don't get in on the meetings. We don't I don't even know who to call or where to start or I mean the lady that runs it, but the the personal side of it, who we talk to for our entries and things, but above that, I don't have an answer. That's the most frustrating part. And it's not when we say breakaway, yeah, I love breakaway and I'm glad it got in there. It's not us against breakaway ropers. It's not the conversation that is
100%.
wanting to happen or stirring.
Mhm.
I'm pumped for them girls. They get to rope there. It's just why aren't we getting to rope there?
Well, for
'Cause
me, it's the
they always
same. To me, it's the same argument in the fact of no team ropers probably pissed about to the breakaway ropers they didn't get in Calgary. No different than we're also rooting for them to also get in the NFR. You know what I mean?
right.
Like it was a huge win, I think, for the breakaway ropers to get in Calgary. I think it was great. But then the same sense, now they're in the same situation trying to get in the NFR. The team ropers are trying to get in Calgary. So
Yeah.
it's the same um debate. It's the same controvert or whatever you want to call it. But we're breakaway. We're being married to Jackie, seeing how far, breakaways evolved. I was also, when I was first getting started rodeo and watching the team rope and struggle with the same issues. And
Right.
so the fact that Calgary is the last one standing to not want team roping in, I just always been curious what that reason is and what the conversations are with that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I wish I was more educated on it. Um, this is an uneducated statement. I wish I had more answers for it, but it sure felt like the PRCA could have helped a heck of a lot more when Calgary called wanting their approval back. It could have been a pretty easy solution to what we have going on. It would have been nice fix,
Sorry, I don't understand.
a nice fix for the majority of
Even
their
even Siri
cardinal.
could even Siri didn't understand.
Yeah, serious. Like, what the hell? So I don't know. I don't know. I wish I had more answers, but it sure felt like there could have been a lot of different ways approached on the deal. But at the end of the day, Andrew Ward still won 30,000 at Calgary. I mean, still got your rope for a heck of a lot of money.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it was a
I
big hit
get
for him for sure, especially where they were
I
at as
get
well.
there has to be two perspectives on it. Where we're very grateful and blessed we get to rope for that kind of money in any scenario. Like, yeah, I'd rope in a parking lot behind a Whataburger, for that kind of money. I don't care. But it also goes down to I want to rope at the Calgary Stampede. I want to win the plaque. I want to stand on that deal. Just like you get to see all them kids or grow up and do. That's what we watched. All of us young guys, when we were young, got to watch our idols do that, you know. And now that we're old enough and taking part in it, like it'd be cool to be one of them, you know, to have
Right.
that opportunity at least to rope towards that.
I think it's great to hear the Canadians' perspective of what it would mean to team rope at Calgary. I really do. I've talked to some of the guys down here, and we're spoiled down here in the fact of there's so many things to go to. I've talked about some of the guys and like, yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on. For a lot of the guys, heck, they don't mind in the fact they can go up there one day, rope, and leave. So the convenience of it is great, but I think it means so much to the guys from Canada because that is your guys's. That is almost like the Pendleton, the Cheyenne. That's the one of the best rodeos in the world, or I guess I would say Houston. I mean, it's one of the top ones, and to see it not having team rope, and I've asked people, like I said, I'm not here trying to dog on the fact of running anything down. The questions I would just love to ask. So I would love to ask anybody that's wanting, willing to come on that is part of the head up of Calgary on why that is no different than why is it that the PRCA allowed it? Why do you let your biggest event in team rope, or the team roping's got the most membership? So why is it that they're not standing up for the team ropers? And then also, no different than I would love to have anybody on, whether it's Las Vegas event or the PRCA, on why the breakaway isn't the NFR. I think all it is just the questions because everything is just held so far out of where anyone knows what's going on. And I think that's where so many people are frustrated.
Well, I know the PRCA stepped up in the end. You know, they held them accountable, and we got some more money. That's huge. Like I said, we got to rope for a lot of money. That changed a lot of guys' years, or it changed a lot of guys' year what they won at Calgary. So
Mhm.
we are reaping the benefits of it. It's just, man, I don't know. We're a major event. You know, why aren't we a part of it? I get it. It's like you said, it's handy to go up there one day, get to be a part of it, but man, it's just, I don't know. We should be able to rope there.
Man, I think you guys too are also starting to see where you guys are in contentions with a lot of the guys in the team roping coming from from Canada, holding up in their event. I'm watching Dawson and Dylan Graham hanging with them, and how cool is that? The last couple of years they've been in contention, but man, this year when the pressure's been on, man, they've been stepping up. Like that run they made at Caldwell look awesome. I felt terrible for them. I think they were high call at Kennewick, wasn't they? But they're putting themselves in good situations, and then Walla Walla just came after them like they ain't letting up. So you're starting to see not only them two, but there's been seeing a handful of other guys with you and some other guys from Canada that are holding at the top rank. So Canada's producing team ropers for sure.
Yeah, I'm old, man. I should have done way better, but all these young guys are amazing. You know, the Graham boys are so talented. They're unbelievable. Cash Bonnet, I think he heads unbelievable. His partner Logan Collin, I think they're high call, maybe splitting it today at Ellensburg. Like, there's so many guys that rope good. Cavis Drake, Denham Ross, so many guys, and there's guys that are just staying in Canada that are doing great. The sport of team roping in Canada is in a pretty good spot. Pretty cool to see. I know the first year I ever made the Canadian finals, I think I had maybe 10 or 11,000 won and made the Canadian finals. And this year, 12th was like 20 or 21,000 to make the Canadian finals. So it's a whole new wave of guys. They're all young. They're all super talented. The team roping in Canada is in a really, really cool spot.
Hmm. Now does the Canadian finals, do they add equal money up there now?
Yes, it's 5 purse, and I think it's just under 11,000. 11,000 to go around, I think.
Good. That's really good. That's good to see that. I think that's the money is probably going to produce more of them. But I'd love to hear your perspective and talk about how hard it is to be able to come from up there and be competitive. Because when we think of when it rains in Texas, you just got to go find an indoor. When it's in August in Arizona, you just got to wait for it to cool off. When you
Right.
guys team rope up there in Canada, it's work. Not only just to be able to go find places to rope, but keeping cattle healthy enough to survive winters. Like when I see guys that come from there, they're so competitive. To me, it's like not only did they work at their roping, but just how hard it was and how much work ethic it took just to be able to be that competitive it because of I think your weather and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's more the generation before us that needs the credit. And, Dawson and Dylan, their dad has a place in Arizona. My dad has a place in Arizona. Denham Ross's dad has a place in Arizona. So it's easy for us, man. All we have to do is love the sport. That's it. That part was simple. We had to wake up and just be happy that we got to team rope. That part is simple. Yeah, it takes work past that, but the opportunities that were given to us by our parents or the support system around you when you were a kid is probably the most crucial part. There's kids that roped as good as me, if not better, when I was high school, but they stayed up there all winter. And when you don't rope that much in the winter, you get a job or you find a different hobby. So I think more of the credit or more of the reward goes to the people that provided us the opportunity to get out of there in the winter or give us access to more. Our deal was easy. We just had to wake up and enjoy team roping.
That's pretty cool. Well, so what all is left? So I know the short round is today at Ellensburg. For you, what rodeos do you have left? You got Puyallup made. How many rodeos you got? Kind of walk me through going into the 2-minute drill.
Yeah, I got Puyallup Thursday, Friday. I roped with Logan Moore over there because Chase didn't get in. I roped with Chase Saturday night at Lewiston. Pendleton and Salt Lake City. Slack and Perf is on Monday. And then I got Albuquerque Thursday. Second one at Pendleton is Wednesday. And then that's that week. And then the week after that is St. George, Amarillo, Omaha, Mandan. And then the last week of the year, I have Mona, Poway, and San Bernardino.
So if you do good enough at Puyallup, that'll put you in the Governor's Cup, correct?
Correct. The final four that make the short round, the final four at Puyallup are guaranteed a spot at Sioux Falls. And then they roll down positions in the the tour
So
world
where
standing.
are you at in the point system going into Puyallup?
I'm 12th right now, but they don't have Ellensburg in there.
Okay.
We didn't make the short round, but we were 17th. So I'm going to get a few points out of there. We didn't do any good at Walla Walla. I think I ended up 22nd or 21st. So I just missed out on the points. I don't think I'm going to make any ground up, but I don't think I'm going to lose any. I should say, 11th through 12th, right there, about 100, 150 points back of like 7th.
So if you guys end up in the final four at Puyallup, that'll be good enough. And if you do good enough and they bump enough back, there's still a couple chances where you could make the Governor's Cup, correct?
Correct. I mean, on paper, if you're in the top 12, you technically have a chance.
Yeah.
But you'll find out Sunday next week, who makes the final four. If it's Driggers, like Driggers, Dustin, Tanner T, I can't remember who else, then they'll roll down to 12th, right? Because then the next 8 spots. But you'll find out next Sunday how many spots are going to roll down. And then that gives you Pendleton, Albuquerque, Mandan. And I think that might be the only 3 tour rodeos after that to make up some ground after Puyallup. I guess Abilene's on the list, but we didn't enter.
So you'll be entered out west in California and all those, but then if you make the Governor's Cup there at Puyallup, you'll be able to probably turn those out and then go to the Governor's Cup. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's correct. You'll get them back, but then you're going to lose 3 rodeos. So you're only going to get to go to 77, 78 rodeos. So you're going to kind of have to stay on top of it. A guy could trade to a slack at Mona maybe the last week, but the California rodeos would kind of be a wash. So you have to find somewhere to walk up to make it all work. It'd be hectic. It'd be a great problem to have. I mean, I'm looking to have that problem, but it could change a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's just good for everyone to understand the strategy and all the things you have to look at it in so many different ways is how it all ends up. Because, when you think about Mandan, up there in the Dakotas to Mona, Utah, to going to San Bernardino, Poway, back up there, the Governor's Cup, you're all over the western side of the United States. And so that's a lot of strategy, a lot of planning, and it's stressful.
It is, but man, all you pray about and want is to be in the situation. So you're grateful to have to be having a headache and not be able to sleep is how I look at it.
Yeah.
The Canadian final starts Wednesday that next week, and I know I would way rather drive from Sioux Falls to Edmonton than San Bernardino to Edmonton.
I'll bet.
Is
I'll bet.
how I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, man, you're roping great this year, man. I'm rooting for you. I'm proud of you. It's been cool to see you battling back, and you're in a good spot. And man, you guys stay safe out there and take it to them, man. I appreciate you coming
thanks.
on.
Yeah, thanks for talking.
You got it, man. We'll be talking to you.